All right. I know we're at least in good hands with the first call because it's Mario in Hyde Park. Hello, Mario. You're on the score.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy New Year, Lawrence and Layla. And Phil, you are the blankety blank goods, man. Congratulations on your retirement.
Oh, you are too kind. Thank you.
There's a strong probability that Mayor Lori Lightfoot will not be mayor after this election. Knowing what we know about how she negotiated or didn't negotiate any of this properly, is there any stretch of a possibility that another mayor comes in and approaches the Bears and says, look, we have land available without gentrifying any part of it. We can get you what you want. Can they get back to the table with the Bears, you think, and not go to Arlington Heights? Because like Layla, I would hate to see them leave Chicago. I'm probably on the island. I don't want them to leave. I want them to stay in the city.
I think that you raise a really good question. You raise the political question. There's just a practical answer to this, and that is they're looking at a 300-acre site in Arlington Heights, which they would control. They could build anything there they want in addition to the stadium. The question is there an equivalent site in the city of Chicago that Chicago could even offer? I mean, when Stan Kroenke built SoFi, that was a site that just dropped out of the sky. And it was the biggest available parcel in Los Angeles, believe it or not. Right now, the biggest available parcel in the Chicagoland area is Arlington Heights. And so the question is, what could the city of Chicago offer that would give not only the space for a stadium, but also this development that the Bears hope to make?
Let's go out to Naperville and talk with Jeff. Hey, Jeff, you're on the score with Phil Rogers.
Hey, guys, how are you? Happy New Year. Phil, congratulations on your retirement. Really appreciate everything you've contributed to Chicago sports over the long years.
Thank you.
But I'm all for the Bears moving to Arlington Heights. I grew up in Arlington Heights, went to Buffalo Grove High School. I've been a Bears fan since I was 5 years old. I think that the city of Chicago has done nothing but hinder the Chicago Bears becoming one of these elite franchises. They don't have any control over their money. I used to work at Soldier Field for one of the concession companies that would run the concessions, and the United Club, the Cadillac Club, way back when it was the Cadillac Club. And the amount of money that the Chicago Bears have to actually pay to the city of Chicago keeps them from really doing anything that any of these clubs can do with all of this money that they have. So I think this site is fantastic. I think what they can do is really turn the Chicago Bears around, because they're going to have areas of income that they've never had possible before.
Can I just ask, is he still there? Yeah. Can I just ask, you would feel that way even if it weren't for the fact that you're from Arlington Heights?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was just nice to hear that they were moving into, my hometown. I used to watch Walter Payton work out on his hill, I love the fact that they're able to have their own stadium, that they're not hindered by politics and bullcrap and park districts. Sorry if I used the wrong word there.
Bullcrap's all right.
Restricting them.
No, we get the point, Jeff. And yeah, that is something that they won't necessarily have to deal with in Chicago. I would say, though, don't discount the politics of building a stadium no matter where it is.
And also be reminded that the salary cap, at least for the on-field product, is very much, as we unfortunately know, still in play, because the Bears are trying to get out from a lot of those payments too. The salary cap situation with paying certain people who aren't on the team anymore.
Hey, we got someone from Arlington Heights, it says. Hey, John, you're on the score.
Hey, Phil and Lawrence, thanks so much for taking my call. I appreciate it. The Bears got to get this done, you guys. Think about this. As you already stated, you have a 300-acre parcel. But not only that, you have access for Metro trains to get people from the city to the stadium. You also have highways that are very accessible. And there's another aspect to this that I've never heard anyone talk about. When you're talking about the NFL in 2022, 2023, the next 10 years, when we're talking about recruiting top talent, you have to also think about facilities. And when we have the third largest market and the smallest stadium, guys, it doesn't make sense. Let's get it done. Let's get a beautiful state-of-the-art stadium, and let's go Bears.
I always like to remind this when this is said. There is also a metro line that drops you off right in front of Soldier Field. I know that people tend to like discount people who live in the South and the South suburbs, but there's literally a metro rail right there. The actual exit is called Soldier Field. Like, that's the name of the stop, is Soldier Field. So just, I always wonder, like, if people actually know, or do they just assume that, oh, there's going to be a metro line that runs out there to Arlington Heights. There's literally one that runs all the way, now it's stretched all the way down to Bourbonnais, that comes down to Soldier Field. Just saying. People forget.
We should go to Abdul next, Lawrence. Abdul on line 10 there.
Okay, I can do that. Hey, Abdul, you're on the score. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, brother? I don't mind that the Bears are going to Arlington Heights. I love the city of Chicago. I thought Lightfoot played her hand way too late. We could have been redid Soldier Field in the 1980s, the 1990s, and we would have never had this problem. The Bears are now just trying to be a state-of-the-art team, worth of that third highest franchise in the NFL. And I think we're about time that we had the best stadium in the NFL.
You know, there's one thing that we didn't talk about, but I'm so glad he said that, and that is when the mayor, we failed to mention one other thing the mayor said. She said, well, if they leave, I'll just bring another team here. That's never going to happen. It was such a ridiculous thing, and it showed a lack of knowledge of how the NFL franchises work, which was really disappointing. If you can't figure out my tone about how this whole conversation has gone, Phil. Well, the fact that she didn't know what the rules were when it came to NFL franchisee relocation was disappointing as the person who was in charge of the city. When the Chargers moved from San Diego, it was an over $600 payment. Okay. $600 million. $600 million to move the Chargers to Los Angeles.
The NFL also was very much a part of that. It wasn't just another municipal entity's call or a franchise. The NFL had to say something about it.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, it was always going to be two teams.
Correct.
And so, the NFL orchestrated that whole thing. And it gets a little complicated with the way Stan Kroenke was in it, and there were other stadiums in the mix.
And he's in a lawsuit with the city of St. Louis that's gotten a lot of publicity.
Exactly. But the bottom line is, and Lawrence, you just touched on this, and that is, the National Football League is not looking to expand in the United States. If any expansion would happen, it would probably happen in Europe or somewhere else. Then it would be a question of relocating an existing franchise to Chicago to be the second team. No existing franchise is going to relocate to Chicago to play at Soldier Field.
And guess who has veto power over that? The Bears do, if you're within a 75-mile radius. So, it annoyed me that the concept of it was thrown out there as a piece of political red meat by the mayor of Chicago without her actually having the facts on what she was throwing out there. I'm sorry, Phil. I know I'm putting you in a spot, man.
It's all right.
What are they going to do? Fire him?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's really a good point.
You got your chance to speak, Phil. That's for sure. We're listening.
Hey, Steve in St. Charles, you're on the score.
Hi there, Lawrence. Hi, Layla. How are you? Happy New Year, guys. Phil, thank you very much for doing this. I've been a Channel 5 guy, Layla, all my life.
Yay.
Anyways, I swore I wasn't ever going to call up the score and say this. I'm one of the long-time season ticket holders. And I was curious as to the financing aspect of this plan to move to Arlington Heights. Has there been any mention of them increasing or adding additional personal seat licenses to help finance this new stadium?
I am so glad you asked that question, and I want your thoughts on this. The Bears haven't said. We spoke with Mark Gannis, who is very knowledgeable about these things and has helped some teams negotiate deals on these things. He said he would be shocked if the Bears did not impose brand new seat licenses on everyone, including existing ticket holders. Now, there might be some kind of an arrangement with existing season ticket holders where they would get maybe a discount but it's not like you're going to get to move your seat license from Soldier Field to a new stadium in Arlington Heights. What would your thoughts on that be?
I was under the impression that personal seat license was good for 30 years.
I think that would be the case probably if it was at Soldier Field. Now,
so you think that they're going to start over from scratch and say, in order to keep the seats that you have, give us $8,000-$10,000 a seat for what you're owning?
Of course, we don't know, but that is what we are understanding has been done in other places. And also now remember one other thing, and this is really important. We haven't even touched on this. There are no naming rights at Soldier Field, because of its landmark status, because of it's a war memorial, things like that. The amount of money teams make off of naming, it's just an astronomical amount of money. Talk to the folks that own the United Center. So, the Bears would have a naming rights deal at a suburban stadium and also would probably go back to the well on seat licenses. And those would be two of the largest sources of funding for building the stadium.
I think it's really important you bring that up. We just won't bring up the FTX funding.
Yeah, I mean, the cryptocurrency is probably not a great idea right now to allow them to.
Yeah, good deals are available on that. Yeah.
I think it's also a good question to ask when we're talking about the money, and we mentioned the salary cap. Like on-field product, that is a number decided by the NFL. But when it comes to where this money could be seen, like the extra money people pay for the tickets, how this money could be reinvested. Your piece about the video board at SoFi I thought was very interesting, and just how that might come into play for the experience of a fan.
Well, it's funny. When we spoke to the Rams about that, they speak of the closet-to-closet experience. In other words, when a football fan gets up in the morning and puts on that starter jacket and gets in the car and drives through rush hour traffic or expressway traffic to get to the stadium, to tailgate, to go to the game, to get out, they are interested in that entire block of time. In other words, what's that experience going to be like for the guy that is shelling out that much money to go to the stadium? Right now, what's that experience like at Soldier Field? It's difficult. I mean, if you want to go to Soldier Field, largely the way you get there is you walk.
Right.
And it's not conducive to that experience.
All right, Phil, I got time to take one more call. Ray, which one do you want me to take?
I think we should go with JR in Indiana.
All right, JR in South Bend. All right, JR, you're on the score.
Hey, how are you guys? Thanks for letting me be your last guy here.
All right, what you got?
My question is, well, first of all, I am very happy to see the Bears leaving Chicago. The field, because of the Park District, has been just an embarrassment year after year. What was the concert that they had like 2 weeks before the first game here? The field's always a mess. So, but that being said, going to Arlington Heights, I consider Arlington Heights as a South Sider. I consider that the last major town before you hit the Wisconsin line. You're going to have a lot of Southsiders and even Westsiders that are probably not going to be as willing to take that trip. That's an hour drive, versus, just hopping, the Dan Ryan and being there in no time. So what do you think long term? I mean, I think it's going to turn the Bears into a different kind of product. Yeah, I think the Grabowski era is going to be over with it. What's your thoughts on that?
I think this is where let me ask you as a former Texas resident, what was the distance from downtown Dallas to either Irving or Arlington?
From the former Oklahoma resident, let's just get that straight. Phil and I laugh about it. For us, it was just the accepted table stakes, right? Like you just knew the stadium was here and you went there and that was the end of it. That's why I am sentimental toward the accessibility of having ballparks in the city, having the United Center be where it is, having Soldier Field be where it is. But in the studies that I've done, and this was a big area of focus for me in school, was that, number one, football stadiums typically provide the least amount of impact on the economic base because of the number of events. And then number two, that is something that should be taken to a ballot if the public should or should not pay for it. That is the only way to get the accurate read on if the public wants to or not.
Yeah, and if we go through all
But
of this,
that was before the pandemic. That was before Jerry World, the $1 billion stadium. And they used eminent domain for a lot of that. But you just accepted that as part of the day. You knew you were going to have to go a long way, hour plus, to get somewhere. The traffic coming back from a game is just accepted, but that's a different lifestyle than what we have here.
Well, and remember, in so many NFL cities, the San Francisco 49ers don't play in San Francisco. The New York Jets and the Giants not only do they not play in New York City, they don't play in the state of New York.
Right.
So the era when teams were located in the downtown area of their franchise name, it's largely becoming a thing of the past.
It's not as common. And I think part of the reason that it was possible in LA was because of where they wanted to put it. But I was hearing reports about that or rumors about that from people in Southern California as early as 2010.
Oh, they've been talking a long time. And even when this deal was done, there were 3 competing stadium schemes before Kroenke won with this site.
Yeah, I just think when it comes to the number of home days you're talking about for Bears games, and they are important, God knows we talk about them, I feel like it's just something you accept as a change to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and again, if you have and Lawrence, you didn't even allude to this, but if you've got a stadium with a roof on it that is enclosed, that can have the Final Four in it. When we were at SoFi, Stevie Nicks was getting ready to come there, you have concerts, you have all kinds of things that are kind of difficult to do when it's snowing and it's 20 below zero.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's
SoFi's getting ready to have the college football championship.
And that's it. They have more events, and I think that's how you make it viable. Is that what you found in your study?
Absolutely. Soldier Field is limited. Not only is Soldier Field limited because of weather, they're also limited because of the Bears' lease. During any time surrounding the football season, the Bears have an ironclad, grip on the stadium. They have say over any other events.
All right.
I don't know that people knew that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's the other reason why Arlington Heights makes a lot of sense for the Bears, because they can put their own concerts and the Final Four and national championship games and everything else, whereas now they don't have the ability to do that. And they do have to deal with Soldier Field putting Kanye on the Soldier Field grass and having him build a house 2 days before a game on the Soldier Field grass, or Metallica coming in there, or the Beatles coming in there, and
Lawrence, if you can get the Beatles at Soldier Field, sign me up.
You're in?
Yeah.